Welcome to tonight's presentation. We're talking about spreading the love and healing through the heart. All right. So talking about heart health. February is Congenital Heart Disease Month. It's also Heart Awareness Month. It's along with a million other things that here in the world that we have in February. But Heart Awareness Month is for February, since we're talking about tonight. So to start off with, we're going to talk about, excuse me. There we go. The silent killer. All right. So while everyone was busy surviving 2020, I think we all know about what 2020 brought to us. We were feeding the beast when it came down to it, okay? The stats show that apparently 65 Americans took time off from exercise because of what happened in 2020, and it led to the silent killer. This thing's been sitting out there for years, but it's time that we start talking about it, all right? That thing right there is heart disease. It's the number one cause of disease, death in the, number one death-causing disease in the world. Nearly every 36 seconds, someone in the United States passes away from heart disease. It's a pretty alarming thing to think about, right? All right. The fact that over the next 10 years, it's estimated that 40% of Americans will have heart disease. That's incredible. 4 out of 10 people. It's remarkable, the fact that we're thinking about that. The fact that over 655,000 people die from it each year, just in this country alone. And the fact that what we spend on it, all right? The fact that we spend billions of dollars upon heart disease and treatment for that. It's incredible. And the fact that we have the ability to work on it and for it to be not only not stopped, but the fact that we can slow it down, progressively be better for it by making some certain changes as we go forward. So heart disease, there's a myth out there, okay? And that's normal with aging, okay? I'm sure you've got family and friends that are worried about their heart failing because of the fact of age. But really, the truth is it's common in order to have it, but it's not normal with aging. And that's a big aspect that goes along with it, okay? The fact that, fatty streaks are actually found in atherosclerosis found in arteries of kids by the age of 10, all right? That's pretty incredible. The fact that kids by the age of 10 have these fatty streaks in their arteries that can lead to heart disease. It's a remarkable thing to think about. The fact that 60% of teenagers have built up plaque in the carotid artery already by that time. So before they even hit their adulthood, 60% of them have already got plaque growing in their arteries. Now, let's put that down to the fact of McDonald's, Wendy's, all those sort of things that they binge on that I'm sure that we all have in our time. That's pretty alarming itself. And the fact that 4 to 10% of all heart attacks happen under 45. So it goes back to the point of the fact that it is not normal with age, but it's common with aging. The fact that you can get it so young in today's society. So the fact is, what actually causes it? Number one is inflammation. All right, inflammation is a huge aspect of it. When you damage anything, the body starts to repair itself. It actually repairs itself by inflaming itself. All right, by trying to back it down, trying to repair itself. Arteries constrict, and blood comes more prone to clot after that point. Scar tissue forms in the arteries, and the constriction of our arteries causes thickening, which can cause clots in regards to it. Now, there's other causes apart from inflammation itself. Inflammation, along with diet, stress, lack of exercise, overweight, older age. All those things can go on. However, if I ask you the question, inflammation happens at what age? At all ages, right? All age, that's right. Most of these things that you go on would probably say older age groups, right? Older demographics. So it's incredible to think that the number one cause of it is inflammation, but that happens from yay big. And all of these are mostly associated with the fact of older generations, let alone the additional conditions that go with it, such as type 2 diabetes, hypothyroidism, liver and kidney damage, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and some medications. All right? So the question I give to everybody is, what does society do about it? What do you think? That's right, they medicate it, right? Two things, they blame it or they medicate it. And if you think about most of society, we're not going to get into the old politics game here, but you think about it, we either blame it or we blame it, right? So we either blame it or medicate it when it comes to a problem that we see when it comes to healthcare, all right? Let's start off with the first one. We blame it, all right? Half of Americans have at least one of these 3 risk factors: high blood pressure, smoking, or high cholesterol, all right? Smoking is smoking, all right? We all know what smoking does to us. We've done all the research. I mean, you flash back to the 70s, the 60s, you saw doctors smoking in commercials, right? So smoking is smoking. We've come a long way. When it comes to high blood pressure, that's our next topic coming forward next month. Make sure you come along to that one for our next workshop. And then we have high cholesterol. All right. Smoking is smoking, like I said, but what is high cholesterol? All right. What is cholesterol to start with? So I'm going to throw it open to you guys. You can respond how you like. What do you think cholesterol is? There's no wrong answer here. Fat. Bang. Cool. Yep. Yep. Cool. So fat. Yep.
I was going to say it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The brain needs the cholesterol.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been hearing some various things about cholesterol where they are debating how bad it really is.
Yeah. So that's the whole big myth that's out there, right? Is cholesterol bad for you or good for you? I throw it out there just the same as when in the general public we talk about it. Remember when the Atkins diet was like, is it good for you or is it bad for you? No carbs versus too many carbs. Lots of fat versus not a lot of fat. There's all these myths out there, okay? Cholesterol we're going to break down just now, okay? What actually is it? Cholesterol is a soft, waxy substance, all right? That's made by the liver. It travels in two forms, HDL and LDL, okay? When inflammation occurs in the body, especially through the arteries, the liver has to produce more cholesterol to try and clean itself up. All right. The HDL is the good stuff. The LDL is the bad stuff. Now let's think about it this way, okay? All right. So, Robert, knowing your line of work, okay, you can tell Dawn what you do for a living, but Robert actually does restoration, okay? Plumbing. I'm going to use an example of plumbing, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom, okay? The LDL, that cholesterol, is your hair, your toothpaste, your loogies from when you're sick and you spit them up. It's the earbuds from the kids throwing them down there. Okay, that's all the junk that's down down there. The HDL is the Drano. It's that little tablet that you throw down there with the hot water and you let it sink in. You clean it out. That's the best way to describe how HDL and LDL work. HDL cleans it up, LDL clogs it. All right, very basic form, but that's how cholesterol works. And it's super, super important to remember about the good cholesterol. Not only does it clean it up, but it does so much more. What it does is it builds the structure of the cell membranes. We're all a living cell, aren't we? Okay, we're all a bunch of living cells. So it literally builds our structure. Big, big, big one that we have to remember, this part here. Make hormones like estrogen, testosterone, and the adrenal hormones. We literally would not be here as a female or as a male because without cholesterol, we wouldn't have estrogen or testosterone. So it's a very, very important thing to have in our system. All right. It helps your metabolism work effectively and is essential to produce vitamin D. All right. Lastly, produces the bile acids, which helps break down fat and absorbs important nutrients. So you got to remember that, okay? But my biggest takeaway, and this goes way back to my neurological stuff in chiropractic school, is that without cholesterol, estrogen and testosterone isn't there. It just doesn't exist. It's literally a diatribe of it. It literally comes off of it. If you go through the process of how you break down each molecule and each hormone, they branch off from cholesterol. So it's pretty darn important for our own life, not life, existence, I should say. The second part is the medicate it. All right, so you bang on. So we talked about the blame it, now we talk about the medicate it. Now, you've heard of statin drugs? Yep, okay. Statin drugs lower cholesterol. It's a pretty basic thing that is thrown out there. Statin drugs lower cholesterol. They work by inhibiting a vital enzyme that produces it. The liver can no longer make cholesterol when you stop this. So I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of this guy, right? Lipitor. That's the big branded one, okay? There's Zocor, there's Crestor, Lescol, there's a whole bunch of them, all right? But Lipitor is the number one that you see, okay? When that happens, though, there is a problem. So yes, we're lowering cholesterol, but there's a problem behind it. And you just mentioned it before, Robert. Your brain tissue is made up of 60% of cholesterol. So if we're now lowering cholesterol with a statin drug, we are literally deteriorating the nerves of the brain. So that's why there's so much research and so much debate on how brain tissue, nervous tissue, and statin drugs and what it's actually doing. Great, we're lowering cholesterol. Okay, that's the bad stuff that we need to lower. But we're literally chopping the brain off from underneath itself because of that.
So I've heard it with, sorry,
No, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I heard, I've studied, I've seen quite a few vegan
Yeah.
documentaries, meat ones, and
Yep.
stuff like that. And now it seems like it's coming like full circle, where now they're almost saying that vegan is not the answer,
Mm-hmm.
and they're almost pressing back to say that um, that meat is actually better for you because it's more protein dense,
Yep.
and the cholesterol is needed.
You got it. Hang on. It is needed. It is the fact that it's needed. The whole vegan diet sort of thing, I think, from my personal belief, was a branch off of all the allergens that people were starting to get, and the way that people were dealing with gluten and soy and dairy and stuff from, modified plants, things like that. That's my personal opinion, but everybody's welcome to their own. But the fact that cholesterol is such needed, the fact that plant-based dieting, where were you getting a supplement of cholesterol from in order to support your body? Your liver can only make so much. So that's a huge point of it all. But the fact that the statin drugs lowering the cholesterol is massive. It's doing one job, but it's completely eradicating another. The other part of it, two parts of it, I should say, is the fact that it blocks serotonin uptake sites, decreasing serotonin, which can lead to problems. So do you know what serotonin actually does? Okay, if you don't. I'll give you one simple one, okay? It goes serotonin, tryptophan, melatonin. You take melatonin for what? Got it. Next level up is tryptophan. You've eaten the turkey, right? You've eaten turkey at Thanksgiving? Gotcha, okay. People eat turkey. Okay, you know people eating turkey at Thanksgiving where they get tired, they get exhausted because they got that big full belly. Tryptophan coming in. Oop, pardon me. Sorry about that. They're getting tryptophan makes people tired. So the fact that serotonin upsides, if you decrease them, you're not getting tired. You're not getting sleep. You're getting the effect happening. So that's why it is a disastrous effect. The other part of it is the fact of CoQ10. CoQ10 breaks down food molecules in order to help you. All right. CoQ10 helps reduce inflammation and protects you from things like cancer and aging. So the fact that it's also inhibiting the fact of where these uptakes are based on statin drugs, it's preventing cholesterol going down, but it's causing other problems, such as the fact of your nervous tissue being broken down, but also the fact that your body can't have uptake sites based on serotonin and CoQ10. In our body? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yep. Yep. Okay. Do you have CoQ10 in your body? Yes. Yes, you do. Yep. Gotcha. Okay, we're going to get there. Yep. You're jumping ahead on me. All right. So the dangers of cholesterol medication is the fact that you see all this. Liver damage, neuropathy, severe joint pain, muscle wasting, heart failure, limits the protection of the cholesterol, depression, stops CoQ10. The main one I want you to take away is this here: stopping statin use. The most common reason for people stopping it wasn't because of cost, wasn't because of efficacy, wasn't because of other things, wasn't because doctors told them to. Main reason was side effect. The side effects that came from statin drugs. So if we're going back to it, blame it, medicate it, two different things that go on. That's why it's happening that way. So what do we do about it? Now I'm talking about the we because it's the people here that we need to help. All right. 4 things we do. We balance the nervous system. I'm going to show you about that why. Remove the interference, identify and replace, and then also the fact that implement strategy behind it. Balancing the nervous system. The cause is the cure. So there was a guy, he's a doctor named Thomas S. Cowan. He said most heart attacks are likely caused by an imbalance in your central nervous system and your autonomic or unconscious nervous system, which controls the function of the internal organs. I'm going to show you how. All right. Here is one thing that all of us have in our bodies. All right. Have you ever heard of the fight or flight response? Okay. Let's say, for instance, I open that door right there and the grizzly bear starts running out. What do we all do? Okay, what was the second part? Run away, all right? We either freak out or we run away. So that's a big takeaway. It's the natural response when danger is around. We release hormones in our body. The stress hormone starts with a C, cortisol. All right, everyone's heard of cortisol. It's the stress hormone. When you're in that fight or flight response, sympathetic nervous system, your body goes, why do I need my reproductive organs, my digestive tract, my urinary system? Why do I need all them? I don't. I need to put energy and blood towards heart, lungs, big muscles, and get out of here, right? That's what happens. It increases the heart rate, dilates the pupils, muscles contract, saliva is reduced, and the stomach stops working. Okay, that is your sympathetic nervous system, right? Fight or flight. There's got to be an opposite to that, right? Because that's your stress state. That means that you're always stressed. Always stressed. That means that you have to have that going. Now, not every single living day of our life do we have the grizzly bear behind that door, do we? But we do get stressed. All right? We get stressed with work, we get stressed with family, we get stressed with financials, we get stressed with society. All right? Then we also do stress with what we eat, what we drink, all the bad stuff, the comforting foods. Don't get me wrong, I love some good Oreos. But those are the things that, that stress, that when we're stressed out, we put those into ourselves. So it causes more stress on our body. This is our gas pedal, all right? You cannot have your gas pedal floored the whole way down the highway, can you? You've got to have an opposite, all right? The opposite is this guy, rest and digest, parasympathetic, all right? If opening the door for the grizzly bear to run out happens, then the opposite of that is relaxation, healing inside. It is the complete opposite. It's the body's response to controlling balance and maintaining our systems. It's the opposite of what happens. All these are needed in order to maintain long-term health. You have to have that balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic, parasympathetic. That's what we like to promote here at the office. And I'm going to show you how and why we do that later on. Okay? The problem today is that people are constantly stressed. All right? Who here in their life is stressed? Yeah, okay, I'm glad we got honesty. With that being the case, you cannot always be in a fight or flight mode because inflammation will keep being high. Stress and inflammation, they're hand in hand. They have to go together. If you're always inflamed, it means you're always stressed. That means your brain is always excited. Your body is always under constant attack and it can't relax. It can't kick in. I'm going to show you what happens in regards to it. We remove the interference, clearing the body of that interference. That's what we do here at our office. Specifically, two areas, C1 and the SI joint. So C1, cervical one, right at the very tippy top, and the SI joint down below. The reason why is that's where we can balance out the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems because they live here and here. All right? Getting them to balance themselves back out in order to have that 50-50. Do you call them seesaws over here in America or teeter-totters?
Yeah.
Teeter-totter?
Seesaw.
Okay, all right, gotcha. We call them teeter-totters, seesaws. I'm just trying to come up with which one they are. Yeah, but that's what it is. It's a balance, okay? Parasympathetic, sympathetic. I use the example, you cannot have your gas on the pedal all the time down the highway, right? But do you know what would really stink? Having the brake on all the time, right? You need to have some stress in your life. You need to have the ability to move and things to figure out, right? So there has to be a balance between the two. So taking out the subluxations and the misalignments of the spinal column and allowing your body to talk to itself better allows those greater lines of communication between not just the heart and the brain, but the whole system. Now I'm going to show you how and why in a second. Next is identify and replace, all right? You mentioned about that, so about supplements. Fats were always a scapegoat, weren't they, when it came to cholesterol? When it came to heart disease, fat. It's not the fact of good fats or bad fats, all right? It's the fact of where our body is actually getting them from. You want to get 60% of your diet in regards to omega-3 fatty acids, wild-caught fish, seeds, nuts, and avocados. Now, you said supplements, okay? Supplements are a great thing. They need to be taken in order for someone who is deficient to it, right? Or someone who is not getting it from a pure protein source or a source such as these themselves that you would get from a normal meat diet, for instance. So the fact of taking something will assist in that regard because otherwise your body cannot deal with it. I say deal with it because it's overloaded by other things that's needed by those supplements in order to support them. So they're very important in someone like your regard as a vegetarian, okay? The other part of it all is the fact of implementing a strategy, okay? Fitness is obviously key for it all, okay? Cardio versus high intensity, all those sort of things that go with it. What is actually going to help in regards to the best exercise? Tell you the number one thing you can do for your heart, all right? Gargle, hum, and sing. You've heard the term before, singing is good for the heart? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. Singing is good for the heart. The reason why, and you're going to think this is silly, the muscles that connect here, right, run or are actually innervated by a nerve, all right? The nerve is the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve in our body. Those muscles run down here and allow me to sing and talk and gargle and move. That vagus nerve is actually the nerve that connects between here, which is the brain, and the heart itself. The vagus nerve is the coordinator of the sympathetic nervous system of the brain to the heart. So I'll say it again, the fact that the brain and the heart are connected via the 10th cranial nerve. And the same muscles that allow you to talk and to sing and to gargle are innervated by that same nerve. So the more you sing, the more you hum, the more you gargle, the more you're working that nerve, because the nervous system is talking from the brain down. You have to tell the brain to move those things down. That is allowing your body in order to help the heart. So it sounds kind of silly, but it's true. The 10th cranial nerve allows you to do that. So sing your hearts out, people. All right? It is pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah. The fact that it's such a cool thing that I discovered by listening to someone. I listened to these two chiropractors that were saying that singing is good for the heart. And I was like, well, I've heard that term before, but I thought it was like almost like an upbeat energy sort of thing, like it's good for your heart, right?
I think it was a marketing.
Was it really? Okay. Was it really? Okay, there you go. So singing is good for the heart, but it actually scientifically is. So the cranial nerves, we have 12 of them, right? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. We've got, they're all part of the cranial nerve, the 12 of them. But the 10th one, the fact that the vagus nerve connects between the brain and the heart, if you can implement a strategy to hum or sing or gargle, it actually innervates through here, that is your larynx and pharynx and all the muscles around here, that goes to the heart to help it out. So you've heard of the brain gut connection, okay? So there's a new thing that's I wouldn't say new thing, but late 2010, early 2010s into mid 2010s, there was the brain gut connection. We're talking about how the gut and the brain are talking to each other the whole way. Have a wild guess what nerve is the one doing it?
I thought it was the bacteria in the gut.
It is. It is the bacteria in the gut. But there's got to be a nerve that talks to it to tell the brain what bacteria to talk to, what hormones to release, how much to release. Guess what nerve it is? It's cranial nerve 10, the same one that does the heart. So yeah, the vagus nerve talks to your gut, talks to your heart, all the way around. So that's why it's a silly little concept, but it definitely works, all right? So questions to ask yourself. So I'm going to ask you some very silly questions now, all right? What makes your heart beat? There's no wrong answer. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right, next one. What if the nerves aren't firing properly towards the heart and then back to the brain? So we just talked about that 10th cranial nerve, right? That cycle. What do you think could happen? A lot of things could happen, right?
Brain's not working correctly.
You got it. Yep.
Everything in your brain is not working correctly.
You got it. What if we could track it and know it before something was to occur? Pretty awesome if we could, right? All right. The answers to those questions, the nerves do it, okay? I just said about the cranial nerves, that 10th cranial nerve. So the 10th cranial nerve comes out of this first bone in our neck and travels down through here and goes towards the heart and the gut. The bone that sits there, which is the first bone in our neck, protects that nerve. If there's a misalignment there, that nerve is going to be impacted. So putting that bone in the correct alignment allows that nerve to talk to its body properly. That's why I ask, you may not be getting all the neurological potential to a vital organ such as your heart if there is something that is not communicating between the brain and heart. And lastly, yes, we can. We can track it. All right? We can track it in how we do it. The reason I say that is because of this. Our Insight HRV scan. We do this on every single patient. And this allows us the ability to check that parasympathetic and their sympathetic nervous system, that balance, all right? That's why I've got that little teeter-totter, not a seesaw, whichever one you guys call it over here, because it shows me the balance, all right? HRV is what a cardiologist does these days, all right? Yes, they'll take their blood pressure, yes, they'll take their pulse rate, things like that, but they do an HRV. The HRV shows variability. The variability shows me adaptability versus capacity. So if you've got an ability to take a certain amount of something, that's capacity, right? Or capability. Adaptability is how much you have wiggle room in order to get there. If you have a small variance of capacity, capability and adaptability, that means that there's a shorter window for things to happen, right? But if you have a large variability, that means you have a lot of wiggle room between the two. So that's what we do here to show you how your body is stressed. We take this HRV scan and we show how your body is in that stress state, that sympathetic and parasympathetic, and how uneven they are, and try and get them back into proper balance. So it shows us in regards to the overall effect of the build-up of stress on your body, and it's how there's a balance between most of the time. This scan shows us how stress affects your body between adaptability and capability between a patient's nervous system. I'm going to show you exactly what that means, okay? So this is a 38-year-old male patient of mine. He had lower back pain, energy fluctuation, and high blood pressure. This is the HRV scan, all right? So when he first came into me, he had these problems: lower back pain, energy fluctuation, and high blood pressure. Within 6 weeks, this was the first scan that we did, all right? Now just down here it says sympathetic and parasympathetic, and his little white dot is where he landed, okay? The goal was to get him smack bang in the middle, because that shows improvement of his nervous system being in balance, all right? The reason why, remember back in school how we had the x-axis and the y-axis, and you try to get the guy right in the middle, and that was the perfect zero? It's the same deal here. You want to try and land it right there in order to have the perfect zero between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. After 6 weeks of chiropractic care, we took him from a score of 69 to 91, showing that little dot just there, right up until here in regards to his neurological scan for his HRV. The balance of his nervous system by taking away those misalignments, particularly upstairs and down below, allowing that body to adapt and improve his score. So his stress level, or his balance of his stress level, was much more in sync. Pretty awesome stuff. You're asking all the right questions. Here is his back pain, his energy fluctuation. He came in originally, this is what's known as an SEMG, right? A segmental EMG, showing muscle tone. When he first came in, look how much muscle tone was built up right at that C1, that top bone, and then downstairs here at that L5S1. Remember I told you about those two areas, upstairs and downstairs? It's firing. This is muscle tension. Look how much there is down there. In 6 weeks' time, we've taken it from that 28 to 85, and look how much muscle tone is happening in those areas just now. Pretty awesome stuff. That's just by chiropractic alone. Now the key one that you want to get away with is how is his blood pressure, right? Or in regards to what's happening with it. So so after showing him our subjective findings, he gave his objective findings, how he feels, okay? So showing him in regards to what he did, he said his lower back pain, much improved. Hip pain, much improved. Energy fluctuation, much improved. Blood pressure, some improvement. So he's now been under care for about 3 months now. He's about to go back and see his cardiologist and show us in regards to his blood pressure about what happened. So it's a really, really cool little case study that I've been able to do by just having him under care. He actually works at Mazda doing car repairs. So that's where his stress comes from, is high tensile mechanical work in regards to it, with stressed out people about worrying about their cars, finances, all that sort of stuff, plus the fact that he has a 9-month-old at home too. So his stress levels are upstairs. So it's just a really cool thing that we like to show in regards to what we're doing with our patients. So chiropractic care is something that's going to assist in regards to blood pressure, heart, all that sort of stuff, based upon clearing the nervous system, reducing the interference, allowing the body to operate in its best potential, and then strategically putting in that success, or strategically planning around it by doing the simple things such as gargling, humming, exercise, all that sort of thing in regards to it. The biggest takeaway, I think, is the fact that we want to activate people's power. All right, you can go a month without food, you can go days without water, you can go minutes without air, but you cannot go 1 second without your nervous system working.